Hello, my name is Jessica and I'm from the Chesterfield Museum. Today I would like to talk to you about one of our memory boxes. The memory box is called Sweet Dreams and it is all about magical moments at the sweet shop. At Chesterfield Museum we have a wide range of memory boxes that cover a variety of topics. They are all created to help support, engage and share special memories. Memories are really important because they help make us who we are. The objects in these memory boxes can help rekindle old memories and help people to talk about their lives. Throughout this video, I will be asking questions about some of the objects in this memory box. So please feel free to pause the video at any time and have a chat about what kind of memories come up that relate to these objects. If you would like more information on any of our memory boxes, please visit the Chesterfield Museum website. The first item I would like to talk to you about is this photograph of the Milky Bar Kid and Milky Bars. Milky Bars were really popular with children. They were a really nice thin bar of white chocolate that was just the right amount of a sweet treat. Milky Bar was actually accidentally created in 1936 when Nestle were making a children's formula bar. Milky Bar production actually ended for a little while in 1940 due to wartime shortages of milk and sugar. They started up again in 1956. The very first appearance of the famous Milky Bar Kid was in 1961. The kid would burst through swing doors in a saloon like the Wild West. The Milky Bar Kid character was played by several child actors over the years. It was such a popular image that they kept recreating the advert in different ways. The Milky Bars are on me is a famous tagline from these adverts and a lot of people will probably still remember it today. Do you remember the Milky Bar Kid? Do you like white chocolate? Which is your favourite kind of chocolate? Milk, white or dark? Can you remember the Milky Bar Kid song or his catchphrase? The next item I have to show you is this huge glass sweet jar. This sweet jar is from Thorns and it at one time contained chocolate butter flavoured dainties. And this little logo at the bottom says, "It's too good for you, Spot." Poor old dog is not getting any sweets, unfortunately. The world's premier toffee. At one time, sweets were sold from jars like these. Old style sweet shops would have a wooden counter, measuring scales to weigh out your sweets, and an old-fashioned cash register. And of course, the sweets, rows upon rows of glass jars like this one, would line the shelves behind the counter, each filled with colourful sweets that recent generations might not even recognise. Some traditional sweets are now a little bit hard to come by in modern shops and supermarkets. Among the classics are humbugs, aniseed balls, pear drops, lemon sherbets, and plenty of different chocolate and fudge. There was also licorice that was sold in various shapes and sizes. There are more recent retro sweets that include popping candy, Parma violets, cola cubes, sherbet fountains, gobstoppers and flying saucers. You would of course choose the sweet of your fancy and they would get weighed out on the scales and given to you in a little bag. Can you remember a old style sweet shop like this? Can you remember sweets being sold in a glass jar like this one? What were your favourite sweets? Was it a lemon sherbet or a pear drop? The next item from the memory box is this little toffee hammer. This is a very small hammer designed especially for breaking up sheets or slabs of hard toffee into smaller pieces to make them easier to eat. A toffee hammer like this one was sometimes included as a novelty item in a toffee gift pack. Certain toffees like McGowan's Highland toffee or Bonfire toffee is really hard and brittle, and you need to break it into little pieces with something like this. McGowan's toffee was well known for having a picture of Highland cattle on it. At one time, McGowan's toffee could be bought at 3p for a plain bar and 6p for the luxury version, covered in dark chocolate. They also made individual sized toffees, made by the same factory, called penny dainties. The smaller toffee chews were created out of necessity So if you couldn't afford the big, large pack of toffee, you could get just a few chews and that would be enough toffee to keep you going. Can you remember using a toffee hammer to break up toffee? Do you like toffee, or was it a bit too chewy? Can you remember McGowan's Highland toffee, and did you ever get the smaller penny dainty chews? The next item is this Smartie tube. The origin of Smarties dates back to 1882. Rowntrees of York had been producing chocolate beans for many years, but they renamed them to Smarties chocolate beans in 1937. The cardboard tubes that they are well known for being packaged in have been made by Robinsons in Chesterfield since the sweets were introduced. Robinsons were famous for creating round boxes. Smarties were sold in this cylindrical tube with a colourful plastic lid. The lid would have a letter of the alphabet on top. This is said to be for an educational purpose. These days, these colourful lids with the letters are really rare, and they're actually regarded as collector's items. Do you enjoy a tube of Smarties? Do you have a favourite colour Smartie? Do you know anybody who worked at Robinsons, perhaps creating these Smartie tubes? The next item to show you is this collection of pre-decimal coins. Decimal coinage was brought in on February the 15th, 1971. In old money, there were 12 pence in a shilling and 20 shillings in a pound. In decimal currency, there are 100p in a pound. In old money, there were 240. It all sounds very complicated now, but it was just accepted at the time. It was very satisfying to go into a sweet shop with the large old-sized penny to buy one gobstopper. For the majority of the 50s, a packet of crisps could be traded for an old threepenny bit. That's this one with the 12 sides. This was also quite a nice coin to hold. If you were very lucky, at Christmas or when you visited a kind relation, you might get half a crown. That's a really heavy coin, and you could buy a fair amount of chocolate bars for that. You could get quite a lot of sweets for just a few pence. The sweets would be weighed out for you, placed in little 2 or 4 ounce bags. Can you remember when decimalisation came in? Can you remember the price of a bag of sweets in old money? Did you ever get some pocket money from your relations and go and spend it in the sweet shop? The next thing I would like to talk to you about is Cadbury's Milk Tray. Milk Tray is a brand of boxed chocolates manufactured by Cadbury. Introduced in 1915, it's one of the longest running Cadbury items. The name Tray derived from the way the original assortment was delivered to the shops. It was originally packed in large boxes arranged on trays and sold loose to customers. The contents of the box has only slightly altered over the years just to keep up with current flavour trends. From 1968 up until 2003, there were numerous adverts on the TV. The original tagline was "All because the lady loves Milk Tray." They all featured this mysterious Milk Tray man. He was a James Bond type character, and he was very daring, and he would surreptitiously deliver a box of Milk Tray chocolates. There were various daring scenarios, such as the Milk Tray man jumping from a cliff top into the sea, and there was another where he leapt from a bridge onto a speeding train and climbed dangerously along the roof, all to deliver the precious box of chocolates. Have you ever received a box of Milk Tray? Do you have a favourite chocolate in the Milk Tray selection? Can you remember the old adverts featuring the Milk Tray man? That brings us to the end of this memory box video. Thank you so much for going through these items with me. I hope they've encouraged some nice conversations and brought up some lovely memories of being in the sweet shop and your favourite sweets. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.